Hi everyone, welcome to week 8. This week we're going to be covering chapter 12. Chapter 12 is about the lymphatic and the immune system. So when we talk about the lymphatic and the immune system, we're talking about everything that is part of the transportation of fluids, as well as everything that's part of the immunological process. So how we destroy infectious microorganisms and things like that. So you'll be looking through and learning things about the specific things that make up the lymph system, which most of you are probably familiar with or have heard of lymph nodes. So lymph nodes are on the lymphatic pathways, and basically their job is to fight microorganisms. So they're the fighters. It's a large concentration of fighting machines basically within our bodies. So they're going to filter the lymph fluid before returning it to the bloodstream, and they're also going to be basically looking for bad stuff. So that's what the lymph nodes are all about. The lymph nodes and the red bone marrow produce lymphocytes, which are the ones that actually attack any type of virus, bacteria, anything along that line. Some of the other organs that you're going to be looking at that are part of this system include the thymus and the spleen. So those are all part of the system as well. Now, when we talk about a pathogen is just any type of disease-causing microorganism. So when we have those all the time. We've always got some sort of pathogens within our body, but the idea is when they multiply and they kind of overrun our body, that's when we have an infection. So those pathogens can be bacterial, they can be fungal, they can be viruses, they can be protozoans. So our body naturally builds up a resistance, and we're able to build up an immunity to some of these things. But when we don't, all of these systems have to come into play to kind of fight against them. So antigens are the substances that cause an immune response to a specific disease. So if we've been able to build up those antigens within our body, we're able to fight those particular pathogens off. So that's what we refer to, or what we're talking about when we refer to immunity. Sometimes we have a natural immunity. In other words, we build up immunity to something. Sometimes it's an acquired active immunity, which means we've built up antibodies either naturally or from a vaccine. And then we've also got acquired passive immunity. So all of these things can occur when we are exposed in one way or another to a particular pathogen. Vaccinations are specifically important in dealing with immunity against specific types of diseases. I'm sure you've read a lot lately about the pros and cons of giving children vaccines. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. I plan on putting something about that in this week's discussion post as well. So you're going to be then also looking at specific conditions that are related to these systems. So things like AIDS. Okay, so AIDS is a condition that affects the immune system, so that is why it's in this particular chapter. Mononucleosis is another one that you may have heard of. Any kind of lymphedema is part of this. Anything dealing with lymph nodes. And then lupus is considered an autoimmune disease, so that's also going to be talked about in this particular chapter. And then, of course, you're going to have some of the abbreviations that you're going to be learning in this chapter. And then, of course, medications, last but not least. So these are just a few of them that you're going to see. Cyclosporine is a very common one that you're going to read about. Let's see. Antihistamines are a category of drugs that are used to produce histamines, so that you don't have allergic responses. Of course, we have our antivirals for AIDS. Corticosteroids are also used to help prevent immunosuppressant, anti-inflammatory type of reactions. And then, of course, we're going to talk about vaccines and things like that. So if at any point as you're going through Chapter 12 you have any questions, please make sure that you reach out to me. You can call, email, or text anytime, and have a great week.